Ah, good morning. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 8th edition of Dangerous with Coffee with Brian Case. I'm feeling particularly dangerous this morning with my coffee because Trump's getting ready to invoke the Insurrection Act. James Comey is about to be arraigned on 2 federal felony charges in a courtroom in Virginia. So, lots of stuff happening today. Let me check and make sure that my stream's actually going here. Real quick, do that real quick self check here. Okay, looks like I'm good. Alrighty, hey, let me get that back. Yep. Okay. I mean, who had this on their bingo card when Trump came back, right? Um, After they set up the Fedsurrection on January 6th. The Fedsurrection. They carefully set that up and arranged it. Well, all these patriots were there trying to peacefully protest the stolen election. They did a Fedsurrection. And the whole point of the Fedsurrection, and then that January 6th committee, which Nancy Pelosi formed in contrary to the House's own rules, by the way. Okay, which was never really a legal committee, by the way. People try to argue shit. Oh, wow, she was the Speaker of the House. She could do that. Bullshit. Did not follow the rules. That was an illegally formed committee. Okay. And they did this nationally televised show trial, carefully stage managed show trial where they hid most of the evidence they were collecting. Half of it was bullshit. The other half were frantic fishing expeditions. We're finding that out now, aren't we? From all this shit that just came out about the Jack Smith Special Counsel. They're desperately searching the farm. And they're like, ah, GOP members of Congress trying to find something they can use to charge somebody, everybody, with insurrection against the United States of America. That they didn't find yet, they were forced to, that poor, sad January 6th committee was forced to shut down after being a massive and complete failure. Had to shut down, and not even Jack Smith or any of these January 6th insurrection prosecutors in the DOJ ever charged a single person with insurrection. Not one. They found all these other fake bullshit charges to throw at people who were there on January 6th. For walking through a building, most of them, they threw the doors open. Come on in. Okay, you want in? We'll let you in. Come in. And a couple hundred American patriots ended up trying for 4 years for that. Many of them ended up going to prison. Many of them are still bankrupt. Many of them, we need to make this right. At some point, I'm sure Trump is going to do this, but at some point, we got to make this right for all the January 6 people. Anyway, here's where I'm going with this. They lost the Fedsurrection. The whole point of the Fedsurrection was to accomplish several things with one fake event. The Fedsurrection where they had all these FBI assets and all these hidden Ukrainian assets and all these Antifa assets embedded in the crowd, they were gonna use that to accomplish several goals. One, send Trump to prison for the rest of his freaking life for supposedly leading an insurrection against the United States government. That was the main goal, yeah. Set up Trump for a special counsel prosecution that would send okay. Now the prosecution would accomplish several things. One was it was supposed to send Donald J. Trump to prison for the rest of his life. Insurrection against the United States government. Very serious charge. Also, it would prevent him from running again in 2024. Yeah, I mean, if you're dragged into court and you're tried and convicted for launching an insurrection against the United States government, okay, yeah, it's kind of a given you will not be allowed to run for high office ever again in this country, isn't it? Well, sure, man. So yeah, there are a couple things they wanted to do with the Fed's election on January 6th. Stop a Trump comeback, put Trump in jail for the rest of his life, and more on okay, on another go, absolutely destroy and marginalize the MAGA movement. Yeah, MAGA movement's dangerous now. You saw what they tried to do on January 6th. You watched. You saw what they tried to do. They tried to break in there and stop the count of the electoral vote. They launched a violent right to get in there and try to seize control of the United States government. MAGA must be destroyed. MAGA must become a cultural. Well, I'm searching for a certain word here. I had it. I had it for a second. I lost it. Outcast, cultural outcast. It was stronger than that. Cultural outcast. They must become completely marginalized in our society, like a fringe cult that nobody pays any attention to. That was the goal. That's a big thing January 6th was supposed to accomplish. The Fed's election on January 6th. So we're all telling themselves, man, we pull this off, I'll never have to deal with that golden haired asshole ever again. You'll be safely in prison somewhere. We'll never have to put up with any more of this. Yeah. Our system will survive. We will remain, in control. Our fingers firmly on the levers of power in Washington, D.C. Trump will be gone. And his stupid movement gone with him. If we pull this off, so they did the January 6th insurrection, and they got the special counsel they wanted, and they got the January 6th they wanted, and they got the nationally televised hearings about the insurrection that overthrew the United States government that Donald Trump led. And it didn't go anywhere. I mean, I'm not saying hundreds of patriots didn't end up in prison. Don't get me wrong. I mean, but there were things they were supposed to accomplish with that. There were things, there were goals in mind, and the show trials, and the absolutely unfair and and terrible things they did to January 6th patriots, the show trials they did, there was a reason they were doing that. We're gonna show you how much of a threat MAGA really is. We're gonna show you what a threat they are to this country. We're gonna put a bunch of people on trial for walking into a building after the police opened the freaking doors for them, you know? See, they had a goal. They had something they wanted to see. Yes, persecuting, and I don't make any mistake. Not, a lot of these people that end up in prison with January 6th, patriots are being persecuted. Okay, but the show trials had an overall purpose. We need to disenfranchise. That's the word I was searching for. We need to completely disenfranchise the MAGA movement, where American culture no longer pays any attention to it. It's it's like an anathema. It's like a fringe violent, like the Weather Underground in the '60s. Got them completely out of sight, completely ignore them. That's what the January 6th trials was supposed to accomplish. Okay. Well, did they accomplish that? Is, did Trump go to prison for the rest of his life? Did Jack Smith prove that Donald Trump led an insurrection? Was Trump ever charged with being an insurrectionist? Was anybody ever charged with being an insurrectionist? What? Trump came back? Oh shit! Well, I guess the whole January 6th thing didn't work out then. It didn't work. The whole point was to destroy MAGA, with MAGA destroyed. Well, no. The whole point was to prevent Trump from running again. Was Trump able to run again? Shit, yes, I think he was. Well, um, well, what'd they get out of it? I mean, now that Cash and Dan and Pam are in there, and the weaponization, every freaking thing they weaponized and turned on the American people. Try to pull off this special election. It's gonna come out. It may not come out as fast as we want, it may not come out in the way we want, but it is coming out. Okay, 274 federal agents embedded in the crowd. It's coming out. What they get at it? They got nothing. They did not accomplish any of their major goals from their Fedsurrection. They didn't accomplish any of them. They'd already stolen the election from Trump. Yes, yes, that succeeded. Supposedly. Okay, yeah, I've been told I'm freezing. Yeah, the weather's fine here. I believe this is on your end line. They didn't get anything they wanted out of the fake Fed election they had. And the country spent 4 years learning just how fake and gay that Fed election really was. They formed an illegal committee in the U.S. Congress that subpoenaed all these people. I know, Bannon, Navarro, with the jail, with the firing the subpoenas. I think that was the set precedent. Well, all these other people just cooperated. Others cooperated. They just decided prison for 6 months. They just cooperated. They knew it wasn't going anywhere. It had There was no evidence to find. What they were really doing, and this is what came out the other day, Jack Smith, and what they're really doing, they're on a desperate fishing expedition. Whatever evidence they tried to supply to say that they needed to be tolling the electronic information from 8, or was it 9? I know people aren't even sure how many GOP senators we're talking about, or GOP members of Congress. Was it 8? Was it 9? Was it 12? But they're spying on these people. They're trying to find something they can use to stop Trump from ever coming back. And did it work? No, it didn't work. All their lawfare failed. Trump came back anyway. He came back anyway. If anything, the fake Fedsurrection, they did work the country up to how corrupt our government had become. Even when Trump was still there in his first term, he people struggled with this. They struggled to accept it. I'm telling you, that was a scouting expedition. That first term was a scouting expedition. He did not have hardly any control. Not, I mean, real actual control. He gives orders and people follow the orders. He did not have it. He did not have real control of the federal government in that first term. And he knew he did. It's why he did all the stuff you see him doing now. Oh man, hey, pay attention to this. He knows if he tried any of the stuff he's doing now in that first term, he'd be dead, or he really would be in prison by now. If he had gone early, if he tried something, all this stuff he's doing now, go straight to the Treasury, expose USA, expose the Congress, expose all the inspector generals. Know how many hundreds of billions of dollars are being looted out of the US Treasury every year. Know what all the NGOs are being used to do. He didn't have any illusions what would have happened to him if he tried that in that first term. A lot of other people seem to have illusions about what would have happened if he tried to arrest all these people back in 2017 through 2020. I don't have any illusions what would have happened to Trump if he tried this early before the time. So here we are. Trump came back anyway, won the election handily with a mandate. Is now deliberately attempting to reverse the mass migration that they brought into the country. You know, now the public's been watching all of this. You know, one reason they can't get any traction. One reason is that they're stalled and moving backwards, and they can't get any traction against Trump's agenda. They lied about everything. They lost all their credibility. The only way they're able to maintain a an illusion of having any credibility left is because they still control the mainstream media. The only reason they're able to pretend there are other podcasts that are still babbling to each other on those channels. Yes, yes, they're still out there. But they lost all the credibility. They spent 3 years telling everybody there's no problem with the border. That's, that's a right wing talking point. You are making that up. There's nothing happening. The border is completely secure. Fine. About that getting Mayorkas in for several congressional hearings. Or what would he do? He'd sit there with that smirk on his face. Fine, the border's fine. There's nothing going on at the border. You're making that up. Go ahead, ask me about the border again. Sure, I'll get you the same answer. Nothing's happening. Fine. There's no border crisis. What border crisis? What what is this border crisis of which you speak? And then in year 4, when they let in most of that 20 million plus that they let in, and it got to where all the stories from these, where are all these 100,000 Haitians in the middle of Ohio? Remember that? Killing the pets? Where the hell are these people come from? Only when they couldn't deny it anymore. Like, well, yeah, okay, there might be a problem with the border, but it's Trump's fault. The guy's been gone. The guy's been fighting off their law for 2 years at that point. But Trump thought that evil son of a bitch Trump wouldn't give us the funding we needed to control the border. And that's why that's how 20 million of these people got in here. They don't have any credibility on that issue. If you take the 40,000-foot view, you unplug yourself from the daily news cycle and all this shit they want to fill your head in the daily news cycle and get you bogged down in the details. You take the 40,000 foot view. It's obvious. They don't want you to see the whole forest. They want you stuck at ground level in the trees. That's what they want. They're telling everybody, I mean, on every issue you look at, drugs, illegals, sending all hundreds of billions of dollars to foreign governments as foreign aid, crime in a city. It's another one. What he just did with HB1 visas. I mean, over and over again, the other side gets maneuvered into taking the most undefensible position possible. Oh, Jay Jones! Look at the Jay Johnson. What position are they finding themselves in? Because they know what's going to happen in Virginia if Jason Maillard is right. The current Attorney General for Virginia is a Republican. Jason Maillard. His name is. They're desperate to get Jason out of there. They need to get him out of here. They got plans for Virginia. They got things they want to do. Well, Youngkin didn't win by that much, and they're pretty sure they can stop most of they can get to the deep state agenda for Virginia. These people are like generals. They got plans for most of the 50 states. They have agendas. Everybody focuses on DC. You don't understand how the deep state actually works if you just focus on DC. They have plans for Texas. They have plans for Virginia. Oh, the plans in New Mexico. Oh, the plans in Colorado worked out brilliantly for them over the last decade. They have plans for each state, mostly especially the red states that they want to flip it purple states and blue states, and the states that used to be red, like Colorado and nominally Georgia. If they can't get a Democrat in there, then they'll find a stout Democrat disguised as a Republican, and they'll go that route. Right? They have a plan for each state now. It's not just DC. It's never been DC. These people are they got personnel in each state. They have an agenda for that state, and they're working tirelessly to bring it about. And they need that Jason Meyers guy out of there in Virginia. They need to get Jason. It's too late in the process. The election's in a month. You know that the election is less than 30 days away. They're stuck. It's either concede the attorney general's job there, the Republicans get to keep it, and their agenda for Virginia gets set back. The closer you get to Washington D.C., the more it's important to them to maintain control of it. Virginia, Maryland, you know, all those. corridor. Some people call it the aesthetic corridor. It's Virginia, D.C., Maryland. Gotta have control of that. They want complete total control there. And Jason Jones, I mean, Jay Jones has put them in a bad position here. With those text came out. But it's too close to the election. They don't have a choice. They come out and say, "Well, I don't approve of what that guy said. That was that guy said was way bad. But I still support him." That guy, he shouldn't be ever getting with a knowing the public office by making comments like that, especially in the atmosphere, the situation the country is in right now. A month after, Charlie Kirk being murdered that way, we have people, trying to ram ICE agents' vehicles and, with guns. We're trying to stop ICE agents. We have trucks shooting in the ICE facility. Okay, look, this is not, and this guy comes out and you almost think this was a movie. This guy comes out and finds out, yeah, Texas talked about shooting the Virginia Speaker of the House in the head, hoping to see his children die. Vile stuff. And what are they forced to do? What are they forced? Well, yeah, same party would go, "It's unfortunate that he did this. His political career is over. The guy's obviously not fit to be handed a position of power or authority. Certainly not the top law enforcement job in the state of Virginia." It's what he believes, kind of thought that he's not a good person. Well, that's if we had a sane country. If you've been paying attention, but, or about half of our country is under the thrall of the demonic. I talk about Luciferians all the time now, so people say, "Wow, we're off on a really weird religious kick there." Nah, not really on a weird religious kick. I'm just pointing out something some are gradually becoming aware of, the secular mindset that they've been programmed to have is finally starting to fade away. So on every issue now, the Democrats have been maneuvered into defunding crime, defunding the worst of the worst, gangbangers, rapists, drug dealers who've been let in here, who basically, I've talked about this many times, they run criminal networks for higher ups. These gangs that came in here, people view them as disjointed, disorganized savages. Not what they are. The president of El Salvador knows that. That's why he doesn't hold these guys under ordinary prison. That is literally a military style prison in El Salvador. SICA, the prison. It's a military prison for terrorists, highly trained terrorist groups. So what this for a number of months now is the Democrats continue to be maneuvered into defending the indefensible. Now, e everybody's different. It's gonna take, I've been saying this for years. People wake up at their own pace and their own time. You try to force it. A lot of people try to force people to wake up. You wake up right this minute, damn it. You stop being difficult. You wake up right the freak now. Do that. I say about half the country woke up already. Just over half. One third of the country is in complete control of the demonic. They've gone so far into the dark that their souls are, I mean, you saw this, the way they react. Charlie Kirk was killed that way. They're, about one third of the country is really far gone into the demonic. But there's another third, and that's the third we need. That's the third where a lot of them came on board when Bobby Kennedy did. A lot of them started moving in our direction. They started breaking their programming. They started asking the right questions. They started moving to the light. Okay, those are the people that are at issue right now. And the dark people are trying to use all their tricks, the people traps in the dark now. That one third of the country is they're outnumbered at this point. You understand that? I mean, I grew up for years hearing, no, 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 we're the ones that are outnumbered. There's only a few of us. This is why we can't win. We can't win because there's so few of us. Everybody around me is a freaking idiot. Everyone that's like, well, nothing, what can I lose? Okay. I heard that shit for years. And that's what it is. It's shit. We're the minority. We're vastly outnumbered. We're vastly outpowered. What did Donald Trump know when he came down that escalator 10 years ago? Oh, he knew that was bullshit. So acting with me, this is what Trump was saying. Acting with me, they just don't know it yet. They haven't woken up yet. But when they wake up, they'll be with me. So just over half the country is awake right now, and they're ready for these changes, and they're behind Donald Trump. And there's one quarter. I just said one third. I didn't actually mean to say one third. I meant to say one quarter. Just over half the country is awake. One quarter is completely trapped in the dark and trying. And there's that quarter. It's not quite in the middle, kind of reaching into the dark, but not there. Those are the people we're fighting to get in to bring in right now. We're trying to wake them up. But listen, they're gonna wake up at their own pace and in their own time. And you can't force it. Force it. There's shit posters out there that, the post stuff, the most inflammatory, um, way to take something they think is true and put it out there in a way that they say it's thought provoking. No, it's inflammatory. Okay, and it act many times it's actually going to provoke the opposite reaction from what they say they want. It's going to deeply offend somebody, make somebody upset. But I planted the seed. Yeah, okay, listen to me very carefully. I woke up on my own about 9/11, despite shit posters trying to wake me up for 20 years. You know, it was right. But they found the most inflammatory way. You know who it was. Then they took pictures of the hook nose Jews wearing that thing on their head, and then, yeah, it was the Jews. Okay. What effect did that have on me? I instantly dismissed it. Shit posting doesn't work. Oh, but 20, see, I woke up and I started waking up at 9/11 in 2022 for 21 years. I wasn't ready to face the truth about 9/11. I did encounter some people. "Ah, give a shit if you're ready or not. Here it is." Rub your face in it. I don't think that's effective. There's a corner of the country that's in play right now. 50, well, just you can say it's over 50%, but it's around, it's at least 50% that woke up right now. We're not outnumbered. Stop listening to the idiots that tell you we're outnumbered. Oh, the freaking Donald Trump rally. Yeah, I mean, all this time, and then now it's just kind of desperate for these people trying to come in. Oh, we're still outnumbered. I know there's still too many of them. I know we can never win because, man, I start telling you shit. Look, this is a psychological problem on their part. You have to realize it's psychological, right? You're wasting your time even trying to argue with them. You know, either come out of it on their own or they won't. Sounds like a mower. Yeah, the ground's vibrating. There's one quarter of the country that's in play. We need to play it right. We're gonna bring these people out, and there will be 75% of the country backing Donald Trump and what he wants to do. Whoever, you may not believe there's a plan. I do. Personally, I happen to believe there's a plan. Whoever came up with this strategy has been pulling it off very artfully because the other side, the dark side, that one quarter of the country, where most of our political elite class is found deep inside the dark, they are constantly being outmaneuvered and outplayed, where they literally have to take up a position to try to defend something that is indefensible. There's only an ordinary level of crime in Chicago. I don't understand all this shit Trump is saying about he needs to send in the federal agent. There's no need for any federal agent. 50 people getting shot on a weekend in Chicago. That's normal. There's no need for any of that. You watch JB Pritzker, that fat fuck, come out here and literally say that on camera at multiple press conferences and interviews. There's no need. I mean, 5 or 6 people dying every weekend and 50 people get shot. That's a normal Chicago weekend. I don't understand what Trump is saying. That he needs to send troops in. Fine, everything's fine. Imagine having to do that every day. Now, he, of course, I've spoken about this many times. JB Pritzker is a Luciferian, all right? There's some people who are just nominally in the dark side. This guy is so far in there, he can literally say he's a denizen of the circle of hell, all right? When he is lying to you, he is speaking his natural language. When he's gaslighting you, he's gaslighting you the truth. His heart sings within him. There's no problem here. There's no crime problem. Trump is just being a dictator, a tyrant. He wants to get in here, steal the election. You watch the election we're having in a month. He's probably going to send the truth guy the ballot boxes. Oh, does he sound nervous? He sounds really nervous. People who've been rigging and stealing our gay as fuck elections for decades are starting to sound really nervous. You understand? That winning with the population is in play, and we're gonna win this. It's the people who are in charge of this. There's no accident. Democrats can't make certain admissions. They cannot, like the illegals. They need those people here. I've talked many times. Why? Why did they need to throw the border open and let these people? Okay, a lot of people just focus on the election side of it because they need a certain amount of population in the blue states so they can hang on to, you know, the a portion. I can't even say that word right. Texas has this size of the population. They get this many seats in the House. A portion. Okay, California has this many people living in, so it gets this many House seats. It's like 700,000 or something like that, probably 700,000 population to get one House seat. Well, if your population in your state drops by several million in a blue state, what happens is you lose the prerequisite number of House seats. But if California has 10 million illegals living in it right now. And remember, don't at me. I don't know how many there are. I'm sure it's a lot. I'm just saying 10 million. Okay. If you have 10 million illegals living there, and they all leave, how many have to well, they lose about 12. They lose about, yeah, 12 seats and a half. You notice how close that shit has gotten in the House lately? Democratic Party's managed to maintain an illusion that it is a national party and it's keeping it close. There's like a 5 representative gap between Republican control, Democrat control. There's like 5 votes. They've only been able to maintain this fiction that they're a national party because they got the citizenship question taken off the 2020 census. They got it themselves about 18 House seats because of that. They did not, let's say that. They avoided losing about 18 House seats when they were successful in keeping the citizenship question off of the 2020 census form. That way. And then the first thing the Joe Biden regime does when it comes in, what does it do? It's too close. We, they talk about how, you know, I think some clever people out there in the neocon news want to talk about how, oh, the idea is to take all these 20 million illegals they let in here and dump them in red states. Uh, red states, blue states. No, not really. You look where most of them ended up. They sent them to the purple states, the ones they thought they could flip, purple states, and blue states. California. California, they sent them to Colorado, they sent them to there's a lot in Colorado, did you know that? They sent them to all these blue states. What they're doing is they know where the House seats are in most danger of being taken away from them, and that is where they move the majority of the 20 million illegals. A lot of them paying taxes, some go to Florida, okay, yes, I understand that. The plan is, you'll see this when they start to leave. You'll see what happens because I believe Trump is going to do this. I'll explain how in a minute. He's going to get the 20 million that just got here in the last 5 6 years. He's going to get them out of here. And when he does, you're gonna see how many House seats, a lot of these blue states, purple states like Colorado, you're gonna see how many House seats they lose. It's very likely gonna be around 18 to 20 House seats. And Republicans are gonna gain House seats. They already know that there was abuse in that 2020 census. Blue states were overcounted, red states were under. There's about 18 to 20 actually Democrats should have right now. It should not be a 5 vote gap, you understand? So the Democratic Party people could see this back in 2020. Thank God we stole that election. Thank God he's leaving. But look, we need to open the borders wide open and let a shit ton of illegals in here so we can count them in the next, and we can keep pace with the Republican Party in the House so we don't lose our influence at the National Party. That's a big reason why they did it, to keep the House seats, build the House seats, population numbers in the census, the appointment that happens. But there's another reason they wanted to let all these people in. This is where, there's all these people out there who think this is just Democrats doing this. Oh, man. Oh, God, no. Oh, God, no. You have no idea. You have no idea who's doing this to you. You gotta find out. Paying attention. You're already starting to find out. The other reason they threw the border wide open and let 20 million illegals in here on top of the 15, 20 million, whatever it was, that were already here prior to 2020. The reason they did that is this is a deliberately planned, decades in the making now. They started planning this decades ago, back in the 70s. Is a deliberate replacement migration. Who are they replacing? Well, I guess, it's like the old joke about the poker table. You don't know who the mark is. The mark. You don't know who the migrants are being let in here to replace. You're the mark. They began planning decades ago how they were going to replace the American workers, American citizens, who they have to pay far higher. They began planning decades ago how they were going to those far cheaper foreign labor. If you think it was just the Democrats planning to do that, you are a fucking moron. If you're still pulled into this team red versus team blue, team R versus team D, Democrats fighting so hard to let all those illegals in here, and the GOP fighting so hard to stop them. If you're still falling for that shit, I can't help you. Man, dude, we fuck down in neocon land. Thank God Ted Cruz is out there really fighting hard to get those illegals out of here. Thank you, Lindsey Graham. Thank you, Paul Ryan. Thank you, John Bonner. Thank you, No Name. Thank you for all you staunch Republicans out there and fighting so hard for us to get those illegals out of here. Let me tell you what's been happening at your local GOP Chamber of Commerce country club ass drinking meetings where decades ago, these people deliberately formed an agreement with Democrats. They were gonna replace the American middle class. Let me tell you what they've been doing to you. The business owners, the, the fucking GOP Chamber of Commerce polo shirt wearing shows up at all your GOP CPAC events. Business owners, what have they been planning? What have they been doing? Surprise! Hey, just to take one example, the trucking industry. You know, follow on that time you've seen this probably come across your feed if you're following a lot of conservative MAGA accounts. The trucking industry suddenly discovered there are thousands and thousands and thousands of illegal sons of bitches who can't even read English road signs driving semi trucks like with they got CDL. That's commercial driving license for those of you in Rio Grande. They got CDL from here. They can't even fucking read and write English. They can't read the road signs. And American trucking firms are not hiring American truck drivers anymore. They're hiring Jose from Guatemala who can't even read and speak fucking English to drive their trucks. Do you think this is just, well, those are only Democrat business owners? Oh, my son, you are still dwelling in the veil of illusion. If you think this is just a Democrat thing, the Republicans are fighting it hard. And our local chamber of commerce keep all these illegals out of here and protect American jobs. Oh, fuck they have. Oh, no, they're not. Oh, no, they're not fighting hard to protect American jobs. All those designers suit wearing your local county GOP businesses, they're hiring illegals. Same as same as the Democrats. They're all in it together. Not an accident. Oh, yeah, and just the other day, this came across my feed. They set up a checkpoint for 3 days in Oklahoma. They caught over 100 illegals driving trucks commercially just in Oklahoma in 3 days. How many thousands of these illegal truckers are there out there? They don't have to put their name on the friggin' license or handing those things out as candy in places like New York and California. You are being replaced. It's not an accident. You don't think the GOP is in on it? Oh my God. At this point, if you're still sucking at the neocon tit, you are, wow, no hope for you. Got a message here. Let's see what it says. Okay. Hmm. It's not just about house seats in a house. They got 20 million in here so they can keep the number of house seats and pretend the Democratic Party is on par with the Republican Party. They keep it close. Oh no, it goes beyond that. It's the replacement migration. They brought in a new slave class. They got tired of paying American citizens those higher wages, having to do those benefits. So decades ago, they thought, you know what? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could replace all these entitled American citizens. Bring in Jose from Mexico. He's just happy to be here. He'll work for half of what Bob does. He'll work for half of what Bob does. He doesn't want any Social Security. He's just happy to be here. Yeah, I'm gonna make some serious money now if I replace Bob with Jose. 'Cause the hourly wages will be half of what Bob is making, 'cause I don't have to worry about Social Security benefits. If he needs medical treatment, Jose will just go to the local hospital, in the local emergency room. I'm gonna save him that. Okay. You better not be thinking this is just a Team Democrat problem. You know, this is one of the things I will take I will give neocon media credit for this. They are very artful. They get paid a lot of money to do this now. They get paid a lot of money to suck you in to the R versus D argument and make you think that all the GOP people out there at DC are fighting real hard to get those illegals out of here and keep them out and protect those American jobs. It was a shell game. It was always a shell game. They didn't stop it. They didn't want to stop. And now Trump is back, and Trump is serious about this. Going to get them all out of here. And the reason the Democrats have been maneuvered into a position now, only the Democrats. I'm about to tell you something. Some of you are not going to believe it. All right, when I tell you this, right now the Democrats are out there saying we need these people here. They've got to stay here. Cut our gas. Gonna watch the kids. The Democrats saying that now. When Trump invokes the Insurrection Act, now he's able to begin using that U.S. military manpower and infrastructure to begin deporting the ones who won't leave, the 20 million that won't leave. You're gonna see amazing things happen. You're gonna see the GOP Chamber of Commerce glass clinking designer streetwear and publicly put their GOP political class come out and stand in solidarity with the Democrats. We need these people. You can't do this. You can't do this to us. Our entire fucking local economy depends on these people because we stopped hiring all the local Americans and we imported a new slave class, a cheaper foreign labor slave class to replace the American workers in our county. You can't fucking do this to us, Donald Trump. You can't do this. You're gonna see this. And they did it to themselves. All of a sudden, I have to come up with an extra $1.5 million just to keep my company open because all of a sudden, my illegal workers are gone, and I have to hire American now. I'm gonna have to raise all my salary costs and start paying Social Security benefits again. I'm over leveraged. I can't fucking do it. Well, too fucking bad. See ya. You shouldn't have even tried that, you dumb fuck. Nobody's gonna miss you. America's a very adaptive, creative country. You will get along without you. Go do something else. You're gonna see this. You you're gonna see people like Ted Cruz and Ron Paul, Thomas Massey. You're gonna see this. You're gonna see GOP political class people who up till now can talk, yeah, we need to get all those illegals out of here. Watch them spit on a dime. moment Trump invoked the Insurrection Act, they would use the Navy, the Air Force, the Marines, the Air Force, Space Command to deport 20,000,000 people. They've all been tracking, by the way. They know where all these people are. Nobody knows that the federal government doesn't know where they are. Of course they know where they are. People laugh, "Oh, you don't have the civilian infrastructure. Your federal agencies don't have the manpower to deport 20,000,000 people." We win! We win! Yay! Yeah. You know who does have the personnel, enough personnel and enough manpower, enough infrastructure to move 20,000,000 people out of the country in 3.5 years? And I'm gonna give you these. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, we'll deport all of these illegals over land and over sea. Yeah, I mean, what the fuck do you think is gonna happen? And when it starts happening, and those first couple million get sent out this way, you will see GOP political class people lose their shit. They'll drop them out there. We can't take these people out. We need them. Our economy of our city, in our town, in our state, up to half the freaking workforce is these illegals. If we do this, our local economy will collapse. Ah, gee, too bad, so sad. Live and learn. Just imagine how that's going to look. The Democratic Party's on its way out already. I hope you can see that. It's not going to survive the National Party. It's collapsing in real time. It's go- when we go out here, they lose 18, 20 House seats. There'll never be a national force again, and they know it. That's why this is an existential crisis. They're gonna take that extra step. I mean, I have no doubt the Insurrection Act is coming. Escalation on the side of these mayors and governors will continue. They're not gonna stop. It's gonna continue. Sometime, I'm guessing in the next several days, Brandon Johnson, Gavin Newsom, Tina Kotek, JB Pritzker, one of these goons gonna order state agents to directly impede or try to block federal agents trying to deport, take someone to custody and deport. The moment they do that, here comes the Insurrection Act. All the masks are gonna drop, both sides. Democrats will go even more insane. And you're gonna see about half the GOP political class now, the people who are, I'm fighting for you. Okay, you gotta see this. Try to stop this. Well, I'm all for American jobs and American workers. But look, the economy is going to be severely damaged if you remove all these illegals. Too bad. But they're gonna be forced to come out and try this. Is what I'm saying. They're gonna be the GOP people are gonna have to drop the mask. Okay, we can't support them. I'm sorry, I cannot support this. We can't support this many. Okay, do it. On illegals and crime. That poor woman being stabbed to death in North Carolina. I mean, they're literally, as Trump says, Trump's literally launching a make great American cities safe again national tour. He's gonna force all the local assholes in charge of places like Memphis and Chicago come out and say, everything's fine here. We don't need you. Portland. Oh yeah, Portland. Doing Portland right here. We don't need you here. Everything's fine. This many people are supposed to be dying in our streets every day. This many shuffling zombies who've been arrested 30 fucking times. That's normal. I don't understand what Trump is trying to do here. Do you think that's a winning position? Or is that an indefensible position you are being forced to take because you can't have the crime stop? You can't have the illegals leave. You can't have the shuffling zombies put in mental health facilities or jail. You can't have that for whatever strange reason you won't admit you don't wanna see that happen. We've had bodies stacking up in morgues all across this country for decades, and it should never have been allowed to happen. And I've talked about this many times. When Trump makes this, he's already made this demonstration to people in Washington, D.C. He's already made the case that you don't have to live like this. You're scared to go out at night. Why? Why are you scared to go out at night? Well, because of all the crime in your city. Like, you have a police force, you have a mayor, you have a city council. Why has crime been allowed to get so bad? You're afraid to walk the streets of the time. Why haven't they fixed it yet? Well, you see, this is part of the programming. This is part of the gaslighting, the brainwashing. They've told you for decades it can't be fixed. Everybody laughs at the end. They think it's not true. Joseph Goebbels, if you just tell a big enough lie over and over again, people come to believe it. Well, guess what? For decades in this country, Americans accepted the big lie that cities had no big cities now. Had to be like this. That it was just so hard to fix the social justice, the crime, the criminal justice system got away from them, and they don't have any money. It's hard to control this, and they're forced to do this revolving door thing at the local jail or the local courthouse, and they simply repeated this big fucking lie to you for decades. This can't be stopped. You have to live like this. You're just gonna have to continue to bear it. We're sorry, but we can't fix it. We're trying our best. Give us some credit here. We're trying so hard, but we just can't get it done. And they're lying to you. They're gaslighting you. There's no reason for 50 people to be shot every week in Chicago. There's absolutely no fucking reason whatsoever. Did you know there are more guns on the streets of Houston than probably all of Chicago? The state of Illinois and several other states, there are more guns on the streets of Houston. and in the houses in Houston. Then in Chicago, why isn't Houston a literal bloodbath war zone then? But people bought the lie. They've been lying about this so long. It's like the programming is stuck in there and it's inside their heads. And here comes Trump. He's saying, look, I'm gonna show you. It ain't gonna take very long either. I'm gonna show you in just a few weeks. Everything you've been told about crime in the city is a fucking lie. Everything about the shuffling zombies. You just can't keep them locked up. You can't keep them in a mental health facility. There's no money. Oh, listen. Hold on. There's something I got going through here. We've been looted up the ass. We've been looted up the wazoo by a shadow government for over 100 years now. And I mean, in some respects, the local politicians are not lying to you. We don't have money to build any new jails, build any new hospitals. We don't have the money for that. Now, some of it's just a line 'cause they got priorities, man. They want this new highway, they want this new project, so they can name it after themselves, whatever, okay. And, what, 1,000,000 to build a new jail? Screw that. I don't wanna do that. Yeah, that's government. But look, they keep the federal government and the state governments, a lot of them are under control of the shadow government. Until recently, our own federal government, until Donald Trump began counting their damn fingers after living the power. US Treasury, oh, he took that away from him. Social Security Administration, oh, he took that away from him. Okay, the US military, oh, God, they tied their fingers off our US military. So one finger at a time, he's taking their fingers off. Got maybe 4 fingers left, 6 are off now. But a lot of state governments are still completely under control of this shadow government, and the shadow government wants that money, and it takes it. So when this mayor, this governor, I have to give all these millions of dollars have to flow out of the state. Here's what I have left. And for me to do what you want me to do, I gotta build 2 or 3 new prisons, the governors. I gotta build 2 or 3 new prisons in my state. Where am I gonna get the money to do that? And in a sense, they're not lying when they say that. When it comes to a mayor of a big city, where am I gonna get the money for that? This is the whole reason that asshole in North Carolina, Stein, governor of North Carolina, waited the full 10 days to sign in this law. They're coming out and saying, "Where am I gonna get the money to hold all these people?" We're getting rid of Catholic now. Where am I gonna get the money to hold all these people in jail? I gotta build new jails. I have to start building new new mental hospitals to hold the shuffling zombies in, okay? In one sense, yes, we're being looted. Our country has been artificially suppressed in numerous ways. It's taking Trump a while to reverse it. The trade reset, the tariff revenues, stopping the looting of the US Treasury, keeping that money here, okay? It's gonna take a while, right? The new, mining deal just signed in Alaska. Everything they've been artificially suppressing to keep our country, uh, just borderline broke. Trump is reversing it, alright? It's gonna take a while for this to trickle down to the city level in some of these states where the shadow government still has almost total control. But Trump is showing them. They could have stopped this crime at any time. They could have stopped the drug trafficking. They didn't. And it's not just because, well, we don't have enough money to do that. Even if you accept it as the argument, "Okay, I don't have any money to do this." What good does Trump coming in there with the federals and stopping all the crime for a month, what good does that do? Well, I'll tell you what good it does. It will force the citizens, once they get a taste of what it's like to live without fear, to live without safety, you're never gonna get them to accept that previous status quo ever again, and the shadow government knows once that cloud of fear is lifted, they're never gonna accept going back to normal. You see what I'm saying? They're never gonna accept it. Alright, Trump's gone now, time to everything back to normal, time to reinstitute the revolving door justice system. Close those extra jails, close those extra no, no, they will never fucking allow you to do that. They won't allow it. They are literally being maneuvered. I mean, picture Trump and his inner team at the White House, the people that are behind Trump now. What's our next initiative where we're gonna maneuver these fucking stupid people into defending something? You look at all of them, okay, letting boys compete in girls' sports. How can we bring that up again? Force them to come out defending that. Cashless bail. People that have been arrested 30 freaking times still being let out onto the streets. How can we force them to defend that? Oh, here's something else that they're not gonna be forced to defend. And to show you something about the federal system. The 2 yahoos that used their vehicles to ram, the cars being driven by ICE agents was such a serious violent attack that the woman that did that got shot by these federal agents. Federal judge let him go already. They're free on bail. Let go. Let 'em out until their arraignment, their trial or whatever. Showing you that's the system. You can literally attempt murder with a deadly weapon against ICE agents, and you're out of jail the next day because that's what the system says. Uh, so they're calling attention to that. So here's where we're at. The people in the White House who are now prying the fingers of the shadow government off of our country one by one. And as okay, they're forcing the Democrats to rush and try to keep those fingers in place indefensibly now. They're pulling their fingers off of the Treasury Department, and they rush in there and try to keep that finger on the Treasury. Take the finger off the Social Security Administration. Remember Chuck Schumer standing out there in that ludicrous protest, trying to keep his finger on the Social Security Administration, I think. The thing they just did with Pete, talking to the military at Quantico, peeling the finger off, even more off the military, Democrats rushing there, "No, no, keep that finger where it is." And prying their fingers off, and Democrats are being forced to rush in there and try to keep the fingers stuck back there. Public's watching this. And it's becoming clear that the Democrat Party now is moving into open insurrection against the federal government. Trump is well within his powers to deport people who are here illegally. There's any question about that. He can do it. Trump is well within his powers to protect federal agents and federal buildings from being violently assaulted and impeded by paid mobs, organized mobs, really a criminal enterprise. He's allowed to do that. The more he acts, though, the more the Democrats are being maneuvered into having to engage in open insurrection, and they can't stop it. I mean, what are they supposed to do? All right, fine, report all the illegals. No, no, no. I just spent 30 minutes explaining to you why they can't do that. Fine, you can have them. Okay, they can't do that. These, those people must stay here. They must stay here. They're not going to yield enough. And, Trump and his team maneuvered them into an indefensible position by going after the worst of the worst at first. They're not going after the ordinary people. They're going after people that they can find them, and they're already many of them already have criminal warrants. The worst of the worst. They maneuvered them. No, you can't. You can't have this gangbanger. Give him back. Okay. The spectacle of that. All right. Open insurrection on behalf of MS-13 and Trent Aragua. Open insurrection to defend these people. And they have to keep escalating. The more Trump does all things that are completely within his power to do, send federal agents to where federal buildings are being attacked. ICE agents are doing their job, enforcing the removal, the completely legal removal of people who should not be here. Many of whom are criminals. Trump can do that. He can do it, okay? And so the Democrats are forced to try to block it. They're forced to try to stop it. So this is where we've ended up. Trump is making it very clear that at the moment one of these Democrats, governors or mayors, gives an order to stop an ICE deportation, an official action of ICE agents carrying out their duties, doing duties to enforce federal immigration law. The moment that happens, Trump is going to invoke election. Let me go to this post I did the other day. To explain to you, there was no doubt about this. All the precedents were laid out in a row, and then some of you will be shocked when I tell you he did this. The federal precedents were established under a different president. For a reason, some of you gonna laugh when I tell you, that's true. And this president that went to the courts and slapped down governor after governor that was trying to stop him from doing what he was doing. And the courts agreed all along the way. Yes, yes, you have the power to do this. Yes, yes, you do. Here it is. Some of you are gonna see this, they're gonna laugh. Okay, there's a meme that goes with this. I'm gonna show you what the meme is. Okay, as you can see, okay, this was an event that took place during Obama's first term. I believe this, don't quote me on this, this is 2011. And by that time, Obama had now he didn't do what Biden did. He didn't throw it wide open, but he told them to come, and they were coming, just not in the numbers that we saw in the Biden years. We had Woodbury in Texas, all our border facilities are swamped. Can't handle this. Stop. Okay. And this is, uh, the governor of Arizona at the time, Jan Brewer. She tried to take state forces and enforce Arizona's border and stop this flood of illegal immigrants that were coming into the country. I knew Barack Obama because Obama kind of, wink, wink, told them to come. And Obama personally flew down to Arizona to meet Governor Jan Brewer on the tarmac where this picture was taken. As you can see, yeah, yeah, LOL, whine louder, John. I can't hear you over all that cool, legal, federal immigration and border enforcement. Yes, hear you. Okay, you can literally see the Insurrection Act invocation coming from Trump. You can see it coming. Like did another post the other day. I said, "There's no suspense here. There's no drama." It's like that line from Bandits, the movie Bandits, with Bruce Willis and Billy Bob Thornton. And Billy Bob's playing this autistic type guy. He says, "This is the problem with being intelligent. I know what's gonna happen." Here's what people need to know. When the federal government was under the control shadow cabal, it ruthlessly used the federal government powers, agents, and resources to crush all state dissent on illegal immigration and a host of other issues. Obama smugly flew down to Arizona to pose next to then Governor John Brewer and laughed in her face about his having opened that border up and setting all kinds of legal rulings that affirm. Here's what Governor Brewer and Governor Perry and some of these other governors they tried to challenge what Obama was doing. Here's the legal precedent that was set in 2009 to 2016. The legal rulings affirm that yes, border and immigration enforcement is a federal matter, and as a state authority, you can't stop any of this. And once Trump had been safely removed from office via a faking day and rigged stolen election in 2020, Joe Biden and his merry crew used federal powers and agents and resources to gleefully rub out and destroy all state resistance to the wide open borders policy that they implement. And they once again reaffirmed in court when Abbott and DeSantis and others tried to challenge them in court. It was legally reaffirmed yet again in all the courts that border and immigration enforcement is a federal matter and too fucking bad if you don't like it. So, if Biden and Mayorkas and Becerra, they want to foment a 20 million mass migration into the US using those federal powers and that federal infrastructure. Who fucking who they want to do that and you don't like it. The precedent is clear and ironclad at this point. The feds have total control of the border. The feds have total control of immigration law enforcement or non enforcement. you wanna put it that way. Now, to generate content and clicks and views, a whole bunch of people are trying to pretend the outcome of this is somehow in doubt, right? Governor Newsom's firing injunctions trying to block Trump from sending troops, National Guard, also Peter Kotek, all these mayors and governors are filing legal briefs. He can't do that. He can't, he not only cannot send military troops to these cities to enforce the law, he can't do this to these immigrants. These immigrants are a vital part of our community. They can't send these ICE agents. This should be illegal. Okay. But look, none of this is in doubt. There's no doubt once it's litigated what the federal courts are going to rule here. There's no suspense. There's no drama. There's no mystery to any of this. The legal precedent was set long ago. Thanks, Obama. The moment when Pritzker or Johnson or Newsom or Hayes or Kotek or whoever moves state assets and personnel to attempt to block federal assets and personnel is the moment the trap closes. Insurrection Act. Here's why it's game over. Courts are not going to reverse decades of precedents and rulings that clearly establish who enforces the border and federal immigration and who has a right to enforce those laws in any U.S. state. There's no mystery here about that. How the federal courts are going to rule. Brandon Johnson, and that they keep putting that video clip of him on TV waving that executive order. He says he wrote and signed. I have an executive order. I have an executive order right here. I wrote it myself. I signed it. It says I just created ice free zones in the city of Chicago. The border patrol agents and other federal agents are not allowed to these ice free zones and attempt to enforce federal immigration law. That is not allowed because I have a piece of paper right here that says, yeah, good luck with that, buddy. You got a piece of paper. Trump has decades of legal precedent clearly establishing who is in control. But now, I understand Biden and Obama were using their control of the federal powers to open the damn border and let all these people in and resettle them. Okay? Understand what they were using it for. And when governors and mayors tried to frantically stop that because states and cities are literally being bankrupted by this shit, they were told over and over again, in one legal ruling after another by federal courts, this is a federal matter. Do not have jurisdiction or the standing to challenge what the president and his DHS person is doing. You can't challenge it. That was when they were trying to open the border and let 20 let in as many as they could. I understand Trump was reversing it, all right? Going the other direction. He's instead of not enforcing the federal law, he's going to enforce the federal immigration law. Instead of leaving the border wide open, he's gonna enforce the border, okay? And Newsom and Pritzker and Johnson and Kotek are challenging in federal court now You're challenging whether he has a right to do anything. But no federal court, and certainly not the Supreme Court, is going to magically reverse all that precedent and suddenly find actually state officials can block the enforcement of federal laws. They can arrest and impeach federal agents enforcing federal laws in their state. If they really, really want to do that, okay. Understand the moment you're living in. That is not going to happen. You may have a federal judge issue a temporary restraining order while it's in litigation, which is exactly what happened with the federal federalized National Guard being moved to Portland. Yes, she issued a temporary restraining order. She didn't. That's not the final judgment. I'm telling you, when they work through the process, just like Trump was like 25 and 2 at the SCOTUS on all these things that came back 9 months ago, or 10 months now. SCOTUS and even the higher federal courts, what are they being asked to do? They're being asked to take decades of precedents that the federal government, the president, the federal agencies enforce the border and control. They're the ones who decide how immigration law is enforced or not enforced. They're the ones that do that. You're there will be people out there clickbaiting, trying to get traction and clicks to these. Oh man, this is in doubt. Oh man, oh, you gotta understand this. They could they could take over 100 years of precedents and wipe their ass with it to agree with Butler and Brandon Johnson and okay, yeah, right, block all the federal agents you want. Federal court ruling this now. Yeah, block all the federal agents you want. You don't if you really don't want federal laws enforced in your state and you're willing to go this far, yeah, okay, you can have that. We will agree that federal laws do not apply. If you create a special zone in your state, federal agents cannot enter and they cannot enforce federal laws. Sure, our federal court, we agree with you that you should be allowed to do that. Okay. Yes, there are idiots out there that are gonna try to tell you that this is what federal courts the SCOTUS is gonna do. They're gonna rule that 100 over 100 years of precedence on the border and federal enforcement of laws in the states, they're gonna turn around and shit at it just to align themselves with Democrats who are in open rebellion against what? The federal fucking government. They're in open rebellion against the federal fucking government. And you're gonna have people telling you the federal fucking courts are gonna side with the people who are in open fucking insurrection against the federal government. It's too absurd for words, okay? No, that is not going to happen. Not gonna happen. There is no constitutional argument. If I'm a governor or mayor, I just created a federal agent, a federal law enforcement free zone in my state or my city. You you can I mean, nothing can do that. He can write it out, he can sign it, he can even wave it in front of the camera. "Oh, look what I got right here. Look what I got." The moment he tries to enforce it, Oh, ICE agents just entered one of my cool new ICE free zones. Sent state troopers of the Chicago police to block those agents and try to remove them from the ICE free zone. You watch what happens the moment they try that. Of course, it will be litigated. Everything's litigated these days. But what do you think the federal courts are gonna find when some yahoo like Brandon certainly trying to make an argument in court? I had a right to create a federal law free zone in Chicago, several ICE zones. I could do that, and I can keep federal agents out of there. They can't go in there and enforce the law. What the fuck do you think the federal judge is gonna do? "Oh, yeah, great, fine, do that, buddy. You can do that. Why don't you make the hey, I got a better idea. Let's make the whole Illinois a federal law free zone. Let's go ahead and fucking secede, you idiots." This is the amount of this is how you know it's an indefensible position. How do you know Brandon Johnson is in an indefensible position? Because all you have to do is listen to this he's been trying and doing lately. That's all you have to do. I just created ice free zones. All the ice agents. Oh, there was no federal law enforced here. Damn it, because I say so. And then either the ice agents go in there anyway. And Brandon Johnson gets his ass arrested for trying to block federal agents from enforcing federal law in the city of Chicago. And it's litigated. What do you think a federal court is gonna do when Brandon Johnson makes the argument? I had a right to do that. There are no federal laws enforced here because as the mayor of Chicago, I said this was a federal law. It is absurd on its face. You think he's gonna win that case? Hell no, he's not gonna win. There's no mystery. There's no suspense. What's gonna happen? Democrats maneuvered into increasingly obvious, indefensible positions will be forced to take their insurrection against the federal government to a point where Trump is going to invoke the Insurrection Act and the US military is gonna be involved. He tries cases of federal insurrection against the United States government. You think that's Judge Chutkan in DC? Oh, no. The Insurrection Act gives the president certain powers, gives the US Attorney General certain powers. Maybe you look into that someday. Invocation of the Insurrection Act, which is coming, they can't help it. They're not going to stop. They can't they can't stop. The illegals have to stay here. And ICE is not gonna stop. So you'll just see escalating, and eventually it could be today, it could be tomorrow, it could be a week from now. You're gonna see one of these mayors or governors say, "All right, that's it. Send those state troopers and arrest those ICE agents for entering my ICE free zone or trying to enforce that law in my state." And it's gonna be open rebellion. It's gonna be an open act, an insurrection act, okay? Trump is gonna invoke it. When he does, all those people out there saying, "Oh, you'll never get 20,000,000 illegals out here. You'll never get these cities out under the control of the Democratic machine that's been in charge there with the fucking elections longer than most of us are alive. You're never gonna do that." see what happens when all of a sudden the US military comes in, and you will see governors and mayors removed from power by being elected and put on trial in a military tribunal for engaging in open election against the government of the United States. And the military is capable of multitasking. So while they're trying all of these people that were engaged in open rebellion and insurrection against the federal government, they're also gonna be using their amazing amount of their infrastructure and their manpower, the personnel resources to deploy around 20 million people. Yes, the military is able to multitask. When you make it very clear you are willing to engage in open rebellion against the government to keep a national security threat inside this country. People who are not citizens, who came here illegally by breaking the law, and many of them, and enough of them, are members of organized criminal terrorist cells, okay? You're trying to defend a national security threat. Not only are you gonna end up on trial on a military project for insurrection against the government. That national security threat you were trying to defend, our military is gonna deal with that, and you will open that door because you wouldn't stop. You wouldn't yeah, plenty of all at any time during the last 10 months, they could have stopped. They wouldn't stop. They kept escalating and escalating and escalating. Highly organized criminal terrorist cells that we call ethnic. Many of them, or a lot of them, funded by foreign sources, coordinating with foreign entities and government. Okay, a national security threat will be removed. Yes, by our military. Some people think I'm joking when I say, okay, look, if you engage in insurrection against the government of the United States, the best way to say this, if Brandon Johnson gives an order, right, it's become clear insurrection is broken out, and they're deliberately state officials are now deliberately trying to block and impede federal agents carrying out the law. What do you think happens to Trump invokes the Insurrection Act? They go in there, they arrest a couple of low-level officials, but they leave Brandon Johnson there, and then the Federals leave and the military leaves. Is that how you think that would go? You do not stop an insurrection against the United States government without arresting and removing from power the head insurrectionist. You understand? If it is a literal insurrection against the federal government breaks out in Chicago, who's the first fucking person getting arrested? Who would it be? Is there some kind of mystery here? Well, maybe it'll be one of those faceless Chicago aldermen. Take my hearing aid out. I'm aching a little bit. Yes, I actually have my hearing aid on now. You cannot leave the head insurrectionist in power in a city where he just instigated, provoked, and led an insurrection against the federal government. And I don't think it's going to be just one of these yahoos that does it. Whoever goes first and gets elected, you're going to see all these other Democrats leap to do the same thing and show solidarity. Think about that. Brandon Johnson get arrested, Gavin Newsom, J.B. Pritzker. I mean, there could be a first arrest that shows the future direction. I don't know. I know that's crazy too, Tom. Some of you just think instantly dismiss that. But could be you see that first direction shows future direction, and you can tell all these people, yes, they're in direct rebellion against the federal government. They're preventing the enforcement of federal laws. They are in rebellion. Gee, what happens then? Do they go in there and they put down the insurrection, occupy the city, allow the enforcement of laws, remove all the illegals, but they leave the head insurrectionist at City Hall or in the governor's mansion at the state capitol? Hell no, they don't do that. You don't put down an insurrection and leave the head insurrectionist in office. That's not how this works. So here's the thing that's about to happen. The president, he spent 5 years at this point claiming he led an insurrection on January 6th. He tried to topple the federal government and seize control of he tried to maintain control of DC by seizing federal power, and we got the whole January 6th protest. And then we got the Jack Smith Special Counsel. They were saying, "No, investigating our people for their insurrection," and they didn't charge a single person with insurrection. You're about to see the target, the guy who was a target of that festival. He's about to invoke the Insurrection Act on you. The irony is like it's like grandmaster level. The guy they tried to destroy with a fake insurrection is about to crush them for their very real insurrection. I mean, did you have that on your 2025 bingo card? The guy they spent all those years and all those resources trying to paint as an insurrectionist so they could destroy him and toss his ass in prison for the rest of his life. He's about to invoke the Insurrection Act on you, and when he does, it's over for them. And Americans are gonna quickly realize how bad it is. And the thing that I think is gonna happen, I'll touch on this briefly as they get ready to Pritzker and Johnson and Kotek and Newsom. I mean, I don't mean to shock some of you, but did you know these people haven't really been running any elections? Did you know that the elections in the state are fake and gay and rigged? Did you know that? A big reason for the shadow government funding neocon media is to convince you that the people that live in those states and those cities keep voting for these lunatics. They keep voting for oh, they deserve what they're getting. They deserve to get it good and hard. They keep voting for these people. Screw them. They deserve this. Okay. I still see some people saying that, but look, everything I've learned about how our fake and gay elections are really done shows I don't really think the people of Chicago voted for Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson. Lori Lightfoot was the mayor of Chicago. I don't think these people have really been winning honest elections. I don't think Gavin Newsom ever really won a real election in California. Especially the recall election, where they tried to recall him several years ago, and it looked like he was about to be recalled, and all of a sudden, California, that wonderful state where, uh, 3 weeks after election day, they're still finding new votes, and, Newsom managed to hang on there. See, when Trump does this, he's not gonna just remove the mayor or the governor, the entire infrastructure of the machine. The shadow government spent decades, in some cases, 100 years or more, building in these cities and states is gonna be decapitated. How do you kill a 20 head hydra? Well, all at once. Cut all the heads off at once. Whatever the triggering event is, where it happens in Chicago, it happens in Portland, Memphis, wherever it happens. I don't have any doubt about the outcome. The real insurrect the people they've been in real insurrection against our Constitution. Yeah, I think best way to say this. Trump's only been back 10 months. He didn't have any real control in his first term. He's gaining more control every day, but he doesn't have full control yet. He's got enough that he can do certain things. We haven't had a constitutional government in this country for over 100 years. 1913 is the year everybody throws around. That's the year they pulled the trigger. They were carefully positioning their assets and personnel and resources from the 1870s, the 1880s, 1890s, all the way to the 1910s. 1913, they were ready to pull the trigger. Okay, we haven't had a real constitutional government in over 100 years. This is what Trump is trying to fix. People that pulled that trigger in 1913 have been in open insurrection against our Constitution and our founders and our government. They've been in open insurrection. It was a hidden insurrection. They hid it. This is what's being surfaced. An unconstitutional, illegal shadow government is being surfaced. It's stopped completely by insurrectionists who are desperate to hang on to power. They're desperate to hang on. And at last, Trump has enough of a constitutional, real U.S. government for them to rebel against. They didn't have that before. They were the freaking government, okay? Now Trump has enough of a real government constituted at this point after 10 months. There's literally something for all these insurrectionists in Chicago and Portland and South being rebellion against. Trump is gonna fucking crush them. I'm really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to watching them. This evil system, these Luciferians, been hiding in the dark all the time. And the light is now shining on them. And they're constantly moved into one indefensible position after another as they try to maintain their power and hide their shadow government so they can try to maintain some semblance of control. But Trump has got too much control now. He's literally maneuvering them where they have to engage in open insurrection. And when they do, reaches a certain point, it's game over. Military's the only way. And when these snakes have their heads cut off, this how they have their heads cut off, and all the multiple states where they've been in a secret insurrection against real government for over 100 years now. And all of a sudden, Trump came back. He formed a real government, a real constitutional government, and he went after it. And they can't stop it. As these sticks get removed from the governor's mansion and the mayor's houses, the whole shadow government machine in that state, in that city, is gonna collapse, and the evidence will be ready to come out. That's when I believe Tulsi Gabbard is gonna step up. The evidence is gonna come out about just how rigged and fake and gay our elections have been for decades. And the great election reset is gonna kick off with all these insurrectionists are in custody, and their machines that only manage to stay in power. Their machines collapse because they can't maintain the illusion anymore. We were winning those elections. You voted for this, and you kept voting to send us in there to do this shit to you, good and hard, okay? They're not gonna be able to maintain that illusion, and that's gonna be a beautiful thing, and it's gonna be up to us, and Trump gives us this chance to save our country, a great election reset, the removal of all this crime, the removal of all the insurrectionists. We have to step up and be ready because the machines are gonna be they're gonna get rid of all these damn black box machines running the proprietary software that can only be managed and handled by outside contractors. Okay, we're getting rid of all that shit. We the American citizens in 3,000 counties now, we have to reconstitute the election system without these machines and fucking software in the system. We gotta rebuild it. We have to That's gonna be very important to pick who gets to run those new election systems when they're ready. I guarantee you, every fucking Luciferian out there is gonna volunteer for that to count the votes. Every damn one of them is gonna volunteer to count the votes, and that'll probably be what I go over on Friday. How to spot a Luciferian, I'll go more in depth into that. How you spot these people, how they can tell they're living in the dark, and why they want that office, and why they wanna count the votes. Okay, it's gonna be up to us to make sure only good, honest patriots are in charge of the election. When the Great Reset happens, the machines move. It's not any improvement. It's the same kind of fucking people that were running the old corrupt system are the ones that end up running the new one. We are gonna have to prevent that. That's when we're gonna have to step up. Trump is not gonna do all of this. He's only getting it ready so we can step in and take over. I hope you all understand that. So thanks for watching. Thanks for making me a part of your Wednesday morning into afternoon now. Okay, it's over 1,400 of you are watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you for watching. And remember, my brother Dwayne just got out of the hospital, and let me do a quick plug here. Uh, he had sizable bills, and let me drop this into the Rumble chat in case he hasn't done that yet. Uh, we're up to $7,000. That's what they wow, everybody that gave. That's amazing. The goal is 10,000 because he already owes about $5,500 to the hospital for this 3-day hospitalization he just had. And it's great. We've already covered what he owes, but he's still got to get treatment for the acute injury in his kidney suffering from his high blood pressure. So I want to thank everybody that donated, and hopefully we can get that to $10,000 over the weekend, so they not have to worry about that. Because medical bills are always a pain in the ass, and so he appreciates that. Um, and this is a great thing about America. We all pull together. Just one thing, a good thing goes. Somebody helping somebody pay their medical. Imagine when the Great Reset happens on the elections, and well, the American people are involved now. We're all networking and we're all helping each other pick who's going to run the new election to be after. And the Luciferians are going to be out there in the dark trying to figure out how to get back and how to get control. But remember, Friday morning, I'm going to teach you how to spot a Luciferian. Some people act like it's a real mystical, difficult thing to tell who's living in the dark, who, who's in the dark, who loves the dark, who loves to lie and gaslight people. And actually, it's not hard at all to determine who's a Luciferian and who's not. And that'll be Friday morning at 10 a.m. I'll see you all there. And God bless you, and God bless that head insurrection, Donald J. Trump, likely president.